Welcome to the Startup Grind.
And today we have a special guest, and this man is a co-founder of Zoona. He is also a great friend and great mentor of mine. And a little bit about Zoona is that it's the fastest growing company in Zambia. They have over 750 agents, and they've paid out over $5.3 million in commissions to agents. That's about more than 20 million kwacha rebased. And then people have transferred over $530 million using the Zoona network. So it's found across the country in over 80 towns, and has created jobs, paid over 12 million kwacha rebased in taxes to ZRA, and I think it's a great success, a great successful Zambian story. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm startup grind welcome to Brad Magrath. Welcome, Brad.
Thanks, Sandra.
I think the challenge for me is how to make this conversation short, because it is a lot of wisdom that you give me and give a lot of people here that know you. But for Startup Grind, we usually just start from the beginning. Tell us about your story. Where were you born, and what was your childhood like?
Okay, cool. So I was born in Kitwe. I was one of 4 brothers. So interesting story. My dad had a son in 4 different decades. So there's a big. He did have 2 wives while he did it, but that's a different story. But yeah, so all of us were born in Zambia. So I spent my first 7 years in Zambia. When I was 7 years old, my parents got divorced, and my mum moved to Asia in Singapore. So from when I was 7 until 18, I actually went to boarding school in South Africa, but I would fly home to Zambia and fly home to Singapore. So it was kind of quite a different upbringing in terms of being exposed to, at that stage, the massive boom in Asia, and probably quite a stagnant time in Zambia's history when I was growing up. So it's wonderful to sort of be part of what I feel is a very aspirational Zambia right now. I mean, people are really looking forward, thinking forward, and empowering themselves to take control of their own destinies, which is great.
No, brilliant. Okay, so I was born in Kitwe as well. So okay, cool. And you went to boarding school at age 7. What was it like?
Yeah, I think it's built a lot of who I am. I'm very independent. I'm very I very much try and do things off my own energy, off my own back. I'm quite a determined person, and I think anyone who's been to boarding school, those things might resonate with them. However, I think the other thing it taught me is to be part of a team, to be with friends, to be with people, to never feel that one person can do anything by themselves. So yeah, I think it's probably a lot about who I am, but also both good and bad. So I didn't send my own kids to boarding school that young, but I still went. So there you go.
Great. Okay. And if we now come to the Zoona story.
No, I think so. When I finished university, I actually went traveling for 2 years.
Okay.
Because I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I went through Europe, through Asia, briefly in Australia, and then I came back and I started working for a small family business.
Okay.
But that had its own difficulties and implications. So I then actually went and joined the corporate world. So okay. I think most people here probably know Barrage Plascon.
Yes.
So I ended up being the general manager and a director there. But throughout that journey, I just wasn't a corporate person. I was getting very well paid, which was nice. Very different to being a startup entrepreneur. But I was very frustrated. I never really got the energy and the flow and the satisfaction that I needed. So at one point I went to my wife and had to explain that we were going to lose the nice company car, we were going to lose the nice paycheck, and we were going to go and start a business. Believe it or not, our first business was actually a comic. I don't know if anyone remembers Super Strikers in Zambia. We then started to get into electronic airtime vending. So we started a business in Malawi. And the one night, our first night in Malawi was the last night of some guy was being transferred to Bangladesh. So we opened up electronic vending business in Bangladesh. But through all that time, within 2 years, this was my brother and I, we started all this together. Within 2 years, we were kind of broke. I think we had $50. We decided to then try and buy a business plan off the internet.
And where was that? Was that still in Malawi?
No, so now that was actually in South Africa at the time, but we had businesses in Zambia and Malawi. And literally we had to find like our third credit card to have the $50 to buy the business plan on the internet. That's how broke we were. So I think it was a case of we ran really fast, we tried really hard, but we didn't actually understand at that point what it took to build a business. And one of our favorite stories is, how do you make good decisions? Easy, with experience. And then how do you get experience? Well, you make lots of bad decisions. So I think that was a period of us where we didn't really know what we were doing, but we had a lot of energy, we had a lot of drive, and I think those are key parts of being an entrepreneur. But yeah, we certainly learned some hard lessons during those times.
I see. Okay. And was that following? Was Zoona following that experience, or how did now?
Yeah, so basically, when we were in Bangladesh, so traditionally in airtime business in Zambia, you would have like a super dealer, a dealer, and then someone loading their phone. In Bangladesh, there were so many people in such a distribution channel. There was 12 tiers of distribution. So we actually built what we called money packets. So that then literally became the infrastructure and framework that is now Zoona today. We still actually operate off the same platform we built all that time ago. And we were squeezed out very early because we just didn't know how to negotiate and do good deals. So you do learn eventually to read the fine print. So lessons learned. But yeah, so then we came back to Zambia, and we grew up when we were in Zambia on a farm, and we started looking at rural farming communities. And I don't know who I was talking to, but I was talking to someone at some point, and they said, for a rural Zambian farmer to receive a payment, never mind how they spent their money, costs 30% of their income, just to actually go and get that cash. So we kind of went, well, we got a technology and there's a need. Surely we can marry these two together and try and work out a better way to pay rural people, that they're not having this high dependency on cash and such a high cost of operating with cash.
Wow. Okay. And now, I remember that it was you who came up with the idea, and you told Brett.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that probably doesn't paint me in the best light, but the original idea, I think, came out at, I think it was September at about 4 o'clock in the morning. September. So this great idea, we're going to make lots of money, winner. So he phoned me at 7 o'clock in the morning, and my head was slightly throbbing. And I said, I've got no idea what you're talking about. So I did have to sort of replay the night through my head to remember what this original good idea was. So there you go.
Okay. And so have you worked with just that original idea, or has the original evolved? I mean, has the idea evolved over time?
Whilst our business has evolved and reiterated over time, I think essentially the core of what we've always tried to do is find a pain point that is really difficult to solve, and then we go and try and solve it in a way that helps customers. Okay. So sure, the model is now no longer paying cotton farmers, but we exist as Zoona to help people send and receive money when they need to most, so that communities can thrive. Wow. At the very essence, that's what we fundamentally believe, and we spend we have some balance on each and every day, but each and every working day trying to work out how we can help our customers, how we can help people do this, and we fundamentally believe that as a business we're having a positive impact on communities, and that motivates and inspires us.
Oh, brilliant. I'll come back to that, because I think that's a very good point. But I want to go to the point of you and Brett. You're the founders, but you're not MD, and you never were, and you hired.
Well, I think when we started the business, I was the MD because I'm 7 years older than my brother.
Okay.
And I think that I could potentially be the worst MD the world's ever seen. So then my brother became the MD, and he wasn't much better than me either. So essentially, what we looked at, it's a lot of the work you do with your wealth dynamics is what did we need to have flow? What did we need to enjoy work, to be good at what we do when we decided to go down the Zoona journey? I was given some really good advice at one point, which was do you want to be a king or do you want to be rich? Do you want to own a very big piece of a very small business or do you want to own a small piece of a very big business? And we wanted to go on an awesome... Hello. we wanted to go on an awesome... I do talk with my hands. We wanted to go on an awesome journey. We wanted to build an amazing business, and we realized we couldn't do that by ourselves. That's if I could say any mistake we made in our earlier businesses, we tried to do everything ourselves, and we just burnt out. You cannot do everything by yourself. So rather surround yourself by amazing people who are different to you. Yeah. Certainly don't go and employ yourself, because then there's just lots of you. Right. So we really looked at, like, there's Mike, there's Keith, and I'd like to talk later on about some of the other people in Zoona that have done such an amazing job. But I think really just understanding that it was a journey about people, and whilst our part was a key part, it didn't have to be as the boss.
Okay, and you also made like huge commitments, you know, and as well as the sacrifices. Could you share some more about that?
Yeah, I think one of the things as a business, so certainly, you know, to date we've never paid out a dividend, we've never received a payout. Okay, cool, we get a wage now, which we didn't get for a long time, which is quite nice. But I think you've got to commit to go through. The way I see this is there's almost 5 stages to a business. There's existence, where you largely don't know what you're doing. You just hope something's going to work. Then there's kind of survival, where you've got a few customers, you've got a bit of revenue, you don't know where your expenses are, you're trying to survive. Then if you're lucky enough, success comes. But success comes with a whole different bunch of problems. So suddenly now you've got a bit of profit, you've got a bit of money, but do you grow and invest in the business, or do you de-risk your business and go and do other things? And I think we've always just fundamentally believed that we were committed to growth. To grow, every year Zoona doubles in growth, that's our budget. So yeah, anything less, and that kind of constantly is our commitment to grow and learn and evolve. And the other thing I would say is we don't believe in paper tiger partners. But that, so to me, a paper tiger partner is you have a partner, but you just think they're there for their name. Like every single one of our partners has sweated and bled and put their cash into the business. So, you know, I think if I'd encourage any entrepreneur in the room, if you think your partners are there to open doors for you, go and open your own doors.
You've got contacts.
Totally. There's rather just find someone who's going to charge through the door with you, and that's a lot more valuable.
Brilliant. I think that's very useful information, because a lot of times you say, okay, fine, partner with Brad. Brad's a big name, and then that's it. And then Brad says,
it must be another brand you're talking about. If that brand is a big name, he's busy doing his other stuff, and your priorities are not his priorities. So you know, you really need to choose people that are going to get in the trenches with you. And what I would say is that they must share your values, they must share your beliefs, they must share where you want to take the business. So I'll give you an example. So there's myself, Brett, Mike, and Keith, are the 4 founder partners. We do have investment partners, we can talk about that later. But when we started together, we committed that we were on a 5-year journey. And that all of us committed to give 100% of our time to Zoona for 5 years. Now, every year in January, we go and make that commitment again. So that we're not doing another business, we're not distracted, we absolutely fundamentally commit to each other as a team, that our sole focus and priority is making Zoona an awesome business.
Wow, great. And so what would you, I know all those things add up to making Zoona a great company that it is, but what would you say would be like the few things that really have made Zoona to be the most trusted mobile money in Zambia, and to be the fastest growing and all those things? Because there are many players in this industry, and it looks like it's very easy to get into. And how are you beating your competition?
I think I'll mention 3 things. I'll mention our customers, our people, our teammates, our staff, and I'll briefly go around our strategy a bit. So to me, good things happen if you focus on your customers. I see some of our key customers in the room from Solwezi, from Western Province. Whenever our business is doing well, is when we're focusing on helping them do well. Whenever our business gets lost, is when we forget about them and think about ourselves.
Great. And tell me more about who's your customer. For somebody who's new to the business model, is it?
So we took a strange approach to who our customer was. So for a long time, we viewed our customers as the agents. The green boxes that you see all over the place, that was our customer. Which seems strange because, like last month, there were 450,000 Zambians that trusted consumers that trusted trusted Zoona with their money that month. But for a long time, we didn't see the consumer as our customer. We saw the agent as our customer. So we fundamentally believe in any industry, and I would encourage any entrepreneur to think like this. There's always going to be a choke point. There's going to be one thing in that industry that is the tipping point to unleashing value. So we always think about how do you deliver value that someone's prepared to pay for. Don't build an awesome app that no one's prepared to buy from you, because then you're just wasting your time. But we looked at this industry. We felt the agents were the critical tipping point that everyone else was ignoring in this industry. And if we got the agents right and got a value proposition that made sense for them, that motivated them, that inspired them to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go home at 7 o'clock at night, then we could offer the Zambian public a really good money transfer service.
Wow, it's really amazing. And especially that you said we got some of your agents here, like from across the country, and you also reward them, like you recognize them when they do a great job and the company is doing well. What are some of those things that...
Yeah, so again, we probably don't do it as well as we should, and it is one of our hallmarks. But we fly our agents down to Cape Town to spend time with our development team. But again, it's a thank you to them, but it's also how much value they give back to us.
Okay.
That's how you build a good business. Like really, just focus. If you're a managing director and you live in an ivory tower and you don't know what's going on, your business will suffer. Whereas if you put your business front and center in solving customers' needs, your business has a chance.
So that was the first part. You said there are 3 parts.
So the second one would be people. So I know she's your wife, but I'll tell you the story anyway. So I love the fact that I left Zambia. I left Zambia a good few years ago, and Zoona was doing pretty well. It was doing quite well. And then Lelemba came in as the managing director, and I think my message is businesses at different times where different people can bring amazing energy and skill sets. So a year later, like I always remember, I used to arrive in Lusaka with a Zoona shirt, and the person at passport control would go, what does Zoona do? So like a year after Lelemba took charge of the business, I walked up to customs and the passport person says, so you work for Lelemba's company. so to me it was just around having, and it's not just Lelemba, there's lots of other people in the business. I could say lots of names, but people that fundamentally are given the ownership and ability to be themselves in a company. So I think we're just trying to create an environment where people that choose to invest their time and energy by having a career at Zoona are given every opportunity to be entrepreneurial in an environment that is a company. So I think our people are very special. And then, I think our strategy is just really just focusing on providing simple solutions, unleashing bottlenecks, taking away the pain points. So just again, I'll add another name. So Bob's joined our Zambian team, and just finding people that fundamentally understand how to take a business to the next level. So you ask why my brother and I aren't the CEO. Well, we've got a certain skill set, but you create a company that needs to be so much bigger than that. Okay. And if you become a bottleneck because you want to hold on to everything as the entrepreneur, your company won't grow and scale.
Which is a lifestyle business.
Totally, which we didn't want.
Great. And Zoona was chosen as one of the 10 startups in the world that was making a difference in taking women or girls out of poverty by the Unreasonable Group and the Nike Foundation. And to know that some of your top agents are women and they employ women and making lots of money. Will you share some more light on that? Yeah,
so I think we as one of our sort of fundamental beliefs is diversity. We think if everyone's thinking the same, no one's thinking at all. So we are a diverse company. What's really of great satisfaction. I think 54% of our agents are women, and I think 65% of our tellers are women. One of the stats that is shown that if you do create a working opportunity for a woman in a family, their daughters stay in school longer. So that's a statistical fact. So if there's almost less money in a family environment, the son somehow gets to go to school the whole time, but the daughter maybe doesn't. So I think we're very humbled by the success our women and all our agents have, but certainly our women agents and tellers. But again, that is their success, not ours. All we created was an opportunity. Their success is their success. I mean, I see Angela sitting there. I can remember 4 years ago, literally dropping her off in Solwezi with a green box and nothing else. Now, I'm not going to share her success story because it might be a private one, but if anyone wants to ask her later, she is an amazing entrepreneur who has had tremendous success. I also know creating employment for girls is a big hard drive of her. So I think one of the things I feel Zoona's done, and I think it's so much bigger than us as a company, is I fundamentally hate people who create dependency. I love people that create opportunity. So I feel Zoona has just enabled people to be given a chance, and then everything they've achieved has been off their hard work, not ours. Like we've just said, here's an opportunity. They've gone off and done it all by themselves, and great credit to them.
Okay, wow. And so Zoona agents are independent business owners.
Absolutely.
They run the businesses, they own those. And you provide the platform, the systems, and everything.
Yeah, so we provide the platform. We try and provide training. We try and provide learning. We try and provide some business skills. We do provide working capital loans. So I think we've invested rebased, so $650,000 times whatever the exchange rate is today in terms of working capital loans into that system. Those with no. One of the things we want to try and drive is I feel anyone who unfortunately has had an opportunity to have scarcer resources respects those resources even more. So we wanted to break down this perception that, you just give people loans and how do you know they'll pay you back? Well, we didn't know. But by doing it, we proved they would. And now it's a growing part of our business. So I think just giving people that opportunity is very important to us.
Wow, brilliant. And maybe you can touch a little bit on how does then somebody become a Zoona agent?
So there's a couple of ways to become a Zoona agent. One of the things we realized is as we scaled the business, we took our top agents and empowered them to become aggregators.
Okay.
So they then almost playing it forward, if that makes sense, whereby their tellers are now, which are the people that are doing the transactions, are becoming agents in their own right. Okay. So you go from being an employee earning X to being an entrepreneur who potentially can earn X plus X plus X. So that is one way to expand. The other way we've looked at key account deals where there's businesses across Zambia that do have lots of footprints, so we work with them. And then we also look with standalone businesses. But ultimately we want to drive as much through our own entrepreneurs and aggregators as possible.
Okay, brilliant. And I've seen some of your videos on YouTube on how awesome Zoona is. How do you create such a culture? There's like you would go partying with everybody and people love their work. They don't have like a specific dress code and just do amazing things. How do you do that?
Yeah, so I think it is an interesting environment to work in that there's not a time you have to be at work. There's not a dress code of how you have to come. So I think like don't underestimate how important values and beliefs are. So we very much recruit people around values and beliefs. Okay. We focus on talent, so we have a talent manager whose key role is to build development programs, talent programs for people. We fundamentally believe that people are inherently good and capable, and you just need to unleash their potential. I think so many businesses, if they actually went and empowered their staff to drive that business forward, the business would grow exponentially. Whereas what they do is they almost stifle their innovation and talent. But within that, we also demanding. We demand the very best of people. We set very stringent KPIs. We set very stringent targets. As I say, we double. Like our budget is to double every year. So when you're small, it was a lot easier to double. As we got bigger, it's got more. But that is our absolute fundamental goal. And then we do crazy things where, literally now we're starting this new thing that 10 o'clock every Friday, every single person in the business has to leave their desk or wherever they're sitting in the world and go and sit quietly for 15 minutes and decide how are they going to be 10% better next week. And our logic is that if you say to everyone, you need to get 100% better, well, where do you start? How do you go from 0 to 100? Whereas if you go from 0 to 10, but if you do that every week, like, 10 times 52, by the end of the year, you're 520% compounded better than you were then when you started. So I think it's just understanding that, like, in terms of our culture, we demand excellence. We demand people live and aspire to our values. We demand of ourselves, like it's that. And then I think the culture, I remember some time back, my daughter, who I think is one of my daughters, one's 19, one's 17, so I don't know which one said it. But she came into the office, and at that point there were 10 people in Zoona, and she went, "Wow, Dad, like 10 people decided to work with you. That is an incredible responsibility." And I think we've always felt that it is a responsibility, and I think we've always been like really humbled that amazing people have chosen to join us on this journey. And I think that is equally, there've been people who haven't been able to meet what we demand of our people, and they've fallen off the journey. And I think that's a very important part of it, because if you don't have absolute A players, you can't get amazing things done.
Absolutely. And so now I'm thinking the number of people here was very small companies that don't have a lot of money, and they would like to work with amazing people. How do you get amazing people when you can't pay them the money that they want to get paid? So what are some of the struggles?
I think again, so it's around about aligning people with your values. So I'll give you an example. Mike Quinn, our partner and CEO, when he first joined us, I think half of his money went to Sweat for his shares, and the other half went to him, and we weren't paying him that much at the time. I think a lot of other people, Zoona's never paid the highest wages. Things we do though is by the mid half of this year, actually they will have shares in Zoona, share options. So that's how you create ownership with people. So I think you've got to find people that want to go on the journey. And I think the other thing I would always encourage people to do is I think if you come from, let's say, America, for example, your business value potentially is a great idea. If you have a great idea in America, let's say, there's so much obvious talent around, there's so much money that people will invest in the idea. I think if you want to be an entrepreneur in Africa, you have to understand that, and I don't want to say your idea is worthless, but your idea by itself is worthless. You have to build a team of people that can turn that idea into execution and traction. Because I think people in Africa will invest money in you either in debt or equity if you've got a proven team of executors who can make money. So it's understanding that you might be sitting going, for this awesome idea, like maybe you'll be the 1 in a million that'll have investment just on your idea. I'd much rather encourage you to turn that idea into revenue and traction and real tangible growth, and then you'll find raising capital a lot easier.
Great. Wow, actually you answered my next question, because that was, I heard there was a radio program that the whole discussion was what's more important, the idea or the person, or the idea or the money, and going on and on about ideas, and people get hung up on ideas. But usually it's not the first idea that even works either.
Totally, and I think we could all sit here tonight and come up with 30 great ideas of things that could change Africa or businesses that could happen, and that's fine. But the other thing I would say is focus. So if you want to be an entrepreneur now, you can't. My advice, and again, it's only my advice because it may or may not work for you, is you can't play at it. You've actually got to commit. It's got to be your being. You've got to put your heart and soul into this thing, because it's really tough. It's really difficult. It's really hard, and you've really got to sort of set yourself up to really take on a whole lot of personal and business risk to achieve what you want to achieve.
And what are your thoughts about the Zambian startup scene? What is your outlook?
I want this to come out right. I think one of the things I find a lot of people speak really well, and they really present what they're going to do really well, and then a year later I meet them and they're still talking the same talk, but they haven't done it. So I'd fundamentally encourage people, and maybe start with that approach we took with a 10% improvement. Like start, and maybe you're going to go in 100 different ways, but start. I think the one thing that everyone needs to be very aware of, it is hard to raise. It's hard to start a business where raising capital is so difficult and so expensive. So I think that as an industry, if smart people can work out how to solve that capital issue, but equally I think also entrepreneurs need to really embrace that they need to go on this journey and get traction and get revenue and choose their partners and their investors.
So that's really brilliant, because I'm thinking that a lot of times you've got a lot of investment from externally. For Zambia, you're looking at, you must have collateral, but you're starting a new business and they're asking for collateral, and you have to start paying at the end of the month, and all those things. So if you were in charge of improving the Zambian startup scene, what would you do?
Jeez, okay, so that's way beyond my pay grade. I think I would encourage the entrepreneurs to be proactive. I think you've got to have success stories. So one of the things we're doing at Zoona is we're very open and transparent, and we're very public around what we do well and what we do badly. So I'll give you an example. When we were trying to raise capital, we were a Zambian business and it was impossible. Like we didn't even own our own houses, but they wanted our security to our own houses, and it was just crazy. So then we thought, well, let's look at South Africa and Kenya, and it actually wasn't much better. So we were very fortunate. And again, it's linked to Mike, our CEO. He just finished doing an Oxford MBA in London, and he had all these contacts in America. So we actually went and raised capital in America. So the $4 million we raised was from a fund in Washington and then a fund in San Francisco. And it took American capital to understand what we needed as entrepreneurs. Like, we didn't really know where we were going. We didn't really have an unbelievable business plan. Like, all we knew is that they almost bet on us as individuals, that they saw what we'd done. So I think getting traction is important. Like, you've got to be able to go, if you're going to people saying, if you give money, I will do this, no one's going to give you money. If you say, look at what I've done, if you give me money, I'm going to do more of the same, but faster and better. So I think you've got to build a case that's built on growth of something proven, as opposed to someone giving you money to try something unproven. Which, unfortunately, if you're in America, you probably get the money the easier way, whereas here you've got to do it the harder way.
And also, I think that to that, then you add your mission, because you have the bigger purpose, as opposed to, I want to build this to pay rent.
No, totally. So we definitely raised. You've almost maybe put an answer in my head, is make sure whoever you take money from is absolutely aligned with your values and your business, your vision. So if you take money from someone who wants to sell out in 6 months, but you're trying to build a business for 5 years, you've absolutely got to be aligned with your partners and your investors. Okay. But I think that social mission is important.
Okay. And what would be your advice to just the people who are starting out, and like your last few words to, you're not dying, but last words of wisdom for this interview.
I think if I was anyone in the room, I would look in the mirror and go, do you want to go on this journey? Because it is a tough journey, but it's an amazing, exciting journey. And I think the opportunity is to enjoy the journey, to understand that there's no silver bullet. You're not going to come up with a brilliant business on your first try. You're not going to suddenly have someone give you $1 million on your first try. So it's understanding that you're going to run into a brick wall a few times. You're going to get a few headaches along the way. You're not always going to win, but as long as you've got that commitment and perseverance and the ability to adapt and learn. And the only thing I would say is surround yourself by amazing people. Like, I truly feel blessed by the the customers and the staff members that have come on the Zoona journey with us. And I think if you can find those types of people and go on that journey together, you've got a much better chance of winning than if you just think you're going to do it all yourself.
Brilliant. Wow. We can go on talking, Brad, and I'm sure we will afterwards. But maybe we'll take questions from the audience.
I just wanted to find out how you deal with position, new entrants, and I know your business, your area of business is quite cutthroat, especially now, because it seems to be also growing fast, and everybody seems to want to do what you're doing now. I mean, even the big players, the banks, even the supermarkets now, we've seen that coming up. So how do you guys deal with opposition and just competition?
Cool. So first off, we love competition. And I'll tell you why we love competition is it makes you better. Yes. So I clearly remember the day, in fact, memory emailed the photograph where, I think it was a couple of years ago, one of the networks, I think it was the yellow one, just decided overnight decided to put a yellow booth next to every single green booth in Zambia. And I clearly remember the day because I literally just called our leadership team together and I said, guys, whatever you do, be calm the whole day, because everyone in the company is going to be looking to see what we do. And all our message was to everyone was, if you are absolutely unbelievably good at what we commit to do. So we've got what we call a customer touch line, where we look at every single place we touch the customer and engage them. And we've turned around and said there's 2 areas we fundamentally will win, and we will compete with whoever comes. And we understand that we'll never have the advertising. I mean, I don't think we've ever had a radio advert or a billboard or anything. But there's 2 areas that we fundamentally have to get better at. And so, they dropped the yellow booths and our green booths are still there and they're still doing very well. And that's fine. You mentioned the ShopRite's the one. Now, ShopRite is a whole different challenge for us, because ShopRite actually don't price the same way as us, because they largely don't care about the pricing, because they just want people to come buy bread and milli meal. So this is now a whole new challenge for us. We've almost conquered one big giant, and now another big giant's going to try and squash us. But I'm quietly confident that we'll come up with solutions. But all I would say is every single customer and person in Zambia should be hugely excited by competition, because it just gives the customer more power. And ultimately that makes every organization want to do better for their customers. But it's a great cutthroat industry, but so many other industries. So we're excited.
My name is Kalumbu. Just wanted to find out, how does the system work? Like, from the time someone walks to the booth to the time the other person receives the money. As in, what kind of systems in terms of technology or infrastructure does that transaction go through? And also, like, because I've used Zoona before, and it's like the second time you go there, they already have your details. Just when you give them your phone number, they already know your name and your NRC number and everything. So I just wanted to understand, you've got databases somewhere, you've got server rooms with so much ICT infrastructure set up somewhere.
Yeah, so somewhere in Cape Town, there's a bunch of, we call them propeller heads. So they're really bright guys that build our systems, manage our systems, make sure that our risk systems are in place, so that anyone who trusts us with their money, we can guarantee a service. So I guess the business is 2 parts. There's the technology base, which is you can log onto a phone, you can log onto a Mobi site, you can log onto a USSD site and literally do your transaction. So that's almost the technology. So in terms of the technology, it's largely instant. You can send money here and instantaneously people can go and pick it up anywhere in Zambia. So it's important for our technology to be good, and that's critically important. But the bigger part of this puzzle is your agent network. It's understanding that somewhere in Zambia, someone's going to take cash and for that cash to be accepted by the agent, they've got to have electronic, and somewhere else in Zambia, someone's going to go and receive their cash, and that agent has got to have that cash for them to have. So I think the business in short is managing the liquidity of that agent network, which is a huge part of what we do. In fact, that's probably the biggest part of what we do, but then that underlying technology just to make sure that as a customer you have a seamless instant transaction. So one of the things when we first started the business, so I mean I'll share very briefly, when we try to start agents, how did someone sell the first fax machine? I don't know, because who were you sending a fax to, because there was no other fax machines. And that's how we were at Zoona, because we were trying to say, be an agent, and they were saying, well, where are your other agents? So what we actually did is, the one bit of advertising we ever did is we once did a full page ad in the Post newspaper. And we took it to all the agents going, see, no, there we are, look, we're in the Post newspaper. And that's kind of how we started. But it was almost like just understanding that like you have to set up these agents all over Zambia so that people can receive and send money.
You find there's so many people who have the money to do the business. And there's so many people who have great ideas which can bring money. And there are other people who have the power to execute what others have brought forward. But how do you bring these people together? Because like a few people that I've approached, you find that somebody's got money, somebody's got the idea, but how to trust one to say, okay, this is the person I can work with, or since this person has got an idea, do you really look at qualifications, or you look at how they look, or how much they have? Because it's really hard to trust one, because believe you me, there are so many people in Zambia who've got great ideas, but they just don't know how to start. Others, they've got a lot of money, they don't know how to go about it. Others, they've got, they know how to execute a business, but they just don't have the income. So as maybe to help us, I don't know, maybe we are a lot of us, how do we come together? Like, I have brilliant ideas, this one has got money, this one is, how do you trust one? How do you bring everybody on board and you work together as a team? Because there's been this fear where people are scared to push in money because they are scared of being duped. Others, they've got ideas, they are scared of selling their ideas because they don't know how secure and trusted that person is, whether they'll get back to them to say, okay, fine, you gave me the idea, I have the money, I'll execute the business, this is how we're going to go about it.
There's a difference almost being, let's say, like a trader where you're doing deals and being a real entrepreneur. So what I would maybe suggest, and again, I'll share what we did. So we met and we said, right, we are going to get investor ready. So by what I mean by that is we made a conscious decision as four people that were starting a business that everything we did would be easy for them to give us money. So we invested in an accountant. And at the time we couldn't afford the accountant, and then we used to hate paying the accountant. We invested in a lawyer. And literally every month, like that, when we gave the professional people that money, it hurt us, but it was building our business so that when people came to look at our business, they'll give us money. The other thing we did is we got an independent advisory board. So we got mentors who we would have a monthly board meeting. It wasn't a real board meeting because they weren't our real board, but we had a board meeting with our advisors, and we had to treat it like a board meeting. So we were busy trying to run our business, and the last thing we wanted to do over the weekend was build a board pack, because a board pack has your financials, it has any risks, it has any fraud you've had. But we did all these things over the course of 18 months. So it took us 18 months from when we decided to be investor ready until we got that $4 million. And like literally every month we'd have that advisory board meeting, we'd produce our monthly financials, we'd produce our budget, we'd measure how we did against budget actual. So I guess maybe my advice to all of you is it's a massive commitment from someone to give you money. So you're saying like they just have to trust you. I'm saying, well, they don't just have to trust you, they can trust what you show them, which is your financials, your board meetings, even though they're not real board meetings. So I think it's a real opportunity for you to go, what are the bottlenecks or what are the reasons why people don't give me money, and then try and systematically break that or remove those so it makes it easier for people to give you money. And I'm still not saying it's going to be easy, but at least you're giving yourself a good chance, would perhaps be my advice.
In that 18 months, were you making revenue? Because from the time that you are planning on building this business, how were you surviving? Because you said that you agreed with everyone who got on board that they're going to give this company 100%. So meaning you're not doing anything else apart from that.
Yeah.
So how did you manage to survive in that?
You have to have revenue. Like if you don't have revenue, you are destroying value every day. And again, I know in America you can go and build a customer base of 1 billion people and work out how you're going to make money and people will keep giving you money. I think in Africa you have to build a business off a revenue base. The other thing I would say is turnover is vanity, profit sanity, cash flow is reality. So your revenue has to be...
Say that again.
So profit, turnover is vanity, profit sanity, cash flow is reality. You have to be generating cash business, not, oh, I supplied someone and they're going to pay me in 180 days, but I'm going to pay my supplier in 30 days. So get those core fundamentals right. And one of the key reasons for us is, as founders, is because we had that revenue, we were able to negotiate quite firmly with investors because we didn't have to take. If someone knows that you have to take their money, they're going to get the best deal they can, which is going to be the worst deal possible for you. Whereas if you can actually like almost take the money when you need it but don't have to have it, you get yourself in a position. So if I can add any value to anyone here as starting entrepreneurs is get revenue, because revenue gives you options. You have an option to pay yourself some money or employ someone else to help you on your journey or say no to someone who's offering you a bad deal. So my strongest advice to anyone is build a business starting with a small revenue base, but off a revenue base. And and again, as entrepreneurs, if you model out, you go, within 6 months, I'm going to have, 10,000 kwacha revenue. Divide that by half. And if you say, oh, my expenses will only be 2,000, double those. Because I think as entrepreneurs, we're very good at thinking we're going to have lots of revenue and no cost. But as we start to get revenue, the cost just be very tight on your cash flow and your revenue, would be my advice.
Great, thanks. There's a question there.
From the various interactions that I've had with business owners, I find that it's really hard for them to decide how much to pay themselves. So how do you, as a business owner, decide how much you're going to pay yourself without putting your business in trouble?
Again, you have to pay yourself enough that you can focus on the business. So if you're suddenly going home and you can't pay your rent or you can't pay your mortgage, you're not going to be focused on the business. So I think you've got to commit to yourself that the business needs to be able to sustain you at your very, and I don't want to use the word basic, but you at your most optimum level. So I'm not saying you're not going on holiday, but you certainly need to be able to sustain your day-to-day upkeep so that you have the ability and energy and focus on your business. If you suddenly, you're about to go into an important business meeting and your landlord's going, if I don't get the rent, you're not focused on that important business meeting. So you can't cripple yourself for the sake of the business. That's not doing anyone any good.
What about what you're doing to solve the pain for people to enable them to transfer money to each other? What about for businesses? I mean, I've seen quite a bit here that the banking system isn't very simple. Can you speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think to date we haven't really looked at that. One of the interesting things for us is strangely enough, we don't actually play very well with big companies. We find they move too slowly, they don't have the change makers, it takes them a long time to make decisions. But I feel that's somewhere the industry has to go. Technically, we've got what we call a bulk payment product. So we can offer that to companies and to banks. The other thing we're doing at the moment is we're integrating into ATMs to do cardless cash withdrawals out of an ATM. So we are looking at ways to widen. I've done that twice now. To widen that scope, but it's something we haven't to date done well, but it is something we're going to try and look at.
When you first started and when you first started making profits, how did you balance reinvesting in the business and maintaining the optimum level that you were talking about in terms of paying yourself, paying your employees?
The only thing cash is good for is to spend on things that can help you grow. So as soon as we had cash, we just employed more people. So even as a business, we have our cover, and we have a small buffer on top of that. But in our mind, any cash we have above that is sitting in a bank earning us no interest and is therefore being wasted. So whenever we have cash above that, we'd rather open 10 more agents, 20 more agents, employ 5 more developers, employ, you're part of our customer experience team, employ more people in the customer experience team. So to us, cash is useless sitting in the bank. It should be spent growing your business.
From what you said, I understand that you do what you do very well, okay, which obviously puts you on top of other players in the market, and obviously you are well networked, etc., and all that, and you are available. But apart from all those conventional factors, what is the one thing, regardless if 1,000, 1 million yellow booths had to come up again, or red ones, or green ones maybe, what is the one thing that you think as Zoona always makes the customer come back and use your service?
I think if people trust us that we will look after them, that we'll look after their money, that we look after our agents, that we look after our people, I think trust is a great word. And I think speed of trust is an even better word, because to me the beauty about technology is, like I was literally at the Monthi hotel at a meeting today, and I saw someone giving someone a check. And I thought, well, why would you give a check when you should be able to do an instant payment, like speed of trust? It should just, the technology is there for the world to be instant. So to me, trust is a big word.
A lot of people will find themselves in this situation. You're holding an 8 to 5. You've got this idea that you want to execute, but you can't just pack your bags and leave your day job and go and start this business. The other thing is, you might have this business idea and you're talking to people about financing that business, and you do come across somebody that wants to put money on the table for you to start that business, but then they probably want an unhealthy share of the company. You spoke earlier on about how you got squeezed out of your earlier businesses. I don't want that to happen to me, because I've spent so much time and energy, and the little surplus that I have to develop prototypes or whatever the case might be, I don't want to get squeezed out of my business. So how do I start getting revenue when I still need to keep my day job, in order for me to have the luxury of not taking whichever deal comes my way in terms of the people that want to invest in my company?
Unfortunately, my answer might not be the right one, but it's how I feel about the world. Is I did give up my day job, and I gave up my fancy car. I had an awesome 2-door Pajero silver sports thing that was pretty amazing. And to date, 10 years later, last week was the first time my wife and I became a 2-car family again. And our car before that was the one we bought off my mother. So to me it was, how do you make the sacrifices that allow you to jump into your business? So I literally walked out of that job and jumped in it, because it just takes such a commitment. So maybe the other thing is could you have a personal cash flow within that job, that if you save up for 12 months, you have a small buffer that could allow you 3 months to really just give this thing 100% for 3 months to see what you could do, would maybe be one way of looking at it. In terms of your partners, and the entrepreneur must always own the business drive. So if you get an investor that suddenly takes away your zeal, then you're actually working. You might as well stay in your job. So somehow you need to find investors that understand that the more of the business you own, the better it is for them. So maybe the conversation is to the, okay, cool, so you could have 60%, but how motivated am I going to be? Or you could have 40% and I'll do this. The other thing you should look at is kickers. So you say to the guy, listen, okay, you want 60% of this value. Okay, I will give that to you, but here's my business plan. Any dollar I achieve above my business plan, I want some of my stock back. So you're saying to him, listen, okay, you think I'm worth this, I think I'm worth more. Let's start with yours. but in a year's time, if I achieve this, I want my stock back, or a percentage of it back. It's a so I don't negotiate any deals in our business because I'm a terrible negotiator. I get all excited by the deal and I just do it for free. So there's one rule: I don't sign anything in Zoona. I don't even think I've got a pen there. So my partners do all of that for me. But again, like it is, you're so right that you've worked so hard. But the other thing I would also encourage you to understand is like I looked at my partners and I thought all they would give me was money. Like our new partners, Amidia, for example. And the first thing they came in is they sat down with us as a team and they said, "Do you think Usain Bolt is a coach?" And we went, "Well, of course Usain Bolt is a coach." You know, and he says, "Well, do you guys have a coach?" And we went, no, we're businessmen. And they went, "Well, hang on, why would he need a coach and you don't?" So they've given us all this coaching skills and mentorship. So again, understand that like when you do a deal, people mustn't just give you their cash. You must look at what other value they can bring to the table for you. But I do, trust me, I've looked in that mirror and it's tough and it's hard and like and our favorite saying is one day chicken, next day feathers. So we honestly believe that if you don't stay focused on what's important, you won't win. So it's constantly just trying to improve it.
Okay, great. I think we're going to have a last question and then we'll go to Brad and a few other people that have managed to raise lots of money. I'll introduce them to you.
Hi, my name is Songa. Been very impressed with the previous talks I've come to. One thing that always comes out is the passion in all the entrepreneurs and how you clearly articulate your vision and the like. I think one part I've always noticed about trying to start up a business here is we don't have a culture of teamwork naturally. And I've seen a number of people who have certain skill sets which I'd love to blend in and make into a whole. But I think one thing I've noticed about like your whole talk about Zoona has been how team is the core of everything. And I think something I've seen predominant in almost all success stories. How do you get this team to kind of get together? How do you structure them? How do I see, like for instance, in Sandras' wealth dynamics, you've got about 9 paradigms there. How do you see that? I'm not supposed to be the guy who's in charge here. It's supposed to be this guy and that. And how do you agree on that? I think it's a part I've struggled with the most in trying to see, it's more attempts I've tried to say, let me set up a business here and there or do this and that. It's where I'm struggling the most. How do you, I know you gave that story, but I'm sure you can give something deeper.
I often hear people say to me, "Oh, that young boy is running too fast," or he's trying to do too much. So I think what I sense there's a change. I think there's a lot more entrepreneurial zeal in Zambia now than there was 10 years ago, and I think that's to be encouraged. I mean, if 10 years ago, if I could have come to an event like this and listened to the questions and the people talking, I would have been like a sponge. I would have just absorbed all of it and gone, I'm not crazy. I'm not on a crazy journey here. So I think that's the second one. I think in terms of teamwork, I think one of our values is being real. So I just think you must be real with yourself. And I sometimes walk into Zoona and wonder how this thing is. It's almost grown its own legs and it's got its own culture. And I think part of that is that we've just allowed people to be themselves and to grow themselves. So I don't know if there's a single bullet. I think I do believe in that wealth dynamic stuff. So when we recruit people, we do personality profiles, we do Myers-Briggs, we do wealth dynamics, because we believe in flow. I think if people are doing what they enjoy and working to their strengths, not their, like if you focus on your weaknesses, you'll never be anything but kind of better than bad. If you focus on your strengths, you could be good. But I think the mistake we made in the beginning, and I'll share that, is we employed people that were like us, and then we were just too much of the same. So I would strongly encourage you to find people who you respect, but are fundamentally different to you. So they bring different strengths, different values, different skills, and that's part of that team. But if I were you guys, if you want to find partners, start talking to people in the room. All of you have been prepared to go up a Friday night to come listen to someone talk. So don't go and find the guy in your football team or in the pub. The people in this room are the people you should be talking to, going, okay, guys, we've got two good ideas. Can we amalgamate them to one and let's work together? Because ultimately, these are your kindred spirits.
Great. Wow. Brad, thank you very much. A big hand for Brad, please. Thanks for sharing your story and your insights, your wisdom. I think we're really privileged here to have awesome speakers like you, like Rocky Sombe, and we had Caesar Siwale, and we'll continue to have more people to be sharing their stories. So thank you very much, Brad.
And congrats to you, and thank you for hosting these events. I think they're great learning. So.
Thank you.